In this lesson, we are going to take a look at the timeline, the library, and we're going to focus on creating graphic symbols. These are all fundamentals that you're going to need to master before you can start creating animations. The file I have open is available in your Chapter 5 folder of your Project Files folder on your desktop. It's called importsymbols.fla. A symbol is a reusable object in Flash. You might also think about a symbol as being a master or an original object. A symbol can be reused throughout your movie and imported into other movies. There are 3 types of symbols. There are graphics, buttons, and movie clips. We're going to focus on graphic symbols. Now, a copy of a symbol is called an instance. When you use an instance, it can have its own independent properties like color and function, and it can be different than the original master symbol. Okay? Everything, all symbols and other graphics, are always included in the library, and you'll see the library items right here. Now, different items in your library are going to have different little icons, and those are your visual cue of what you're dealing with when you look at the items in the library. Now, for this document, we have a variety of different things. We have Jack here. Jack was actually an imported Illustrator object that was converted into a symbol. We have the paw prints. This is actually still a JPEG. If you go to the File menu and go to Import, you can import just about anything directly to your stage or straight into the library, and then you decide what you convert to a master and where you use these items. Okay? So let me deselect. We have 2 other objects here that were also imported, and now as I click around, you're probably noticing the timeline down at the bottom. This particular document was set up with individual layers. Each one of these objects is on its very own layer. Now, this is going to be important to you if things ever overlap, because when you move your objects around, for example, if we take our paw print here, we're going to notice it's down a little ways in the stacking order. If this guy were to move over here, it would actually display on top of Jack because it's higher in the stacking order. If I were to take the paw's JPEG layer and move it down, you'll notice that now, if our objects overlap, it is underneath. Okay, so we'll just move this back out of the way. Well, what about this paw print here? What is that? Well, that was actually created right here inside of Flash. Flash is a vector-based program, just like Illustrator, and this paw print is actually a group of circles made from this tool right here, the ellipse tool, right inside of Flash. Well, why don't we take this paw print and convert it to a symbol? With your selection tool active, that's the black arrow here, drag a marquee to select all the pieces of the paw print. Now, because this particular object is made up of little pieces and parts, it's probably helpful to group all of these items together. So let's go to the Modify menu and choose Group. Command G or Control G is a great shortcut for that. And now all of our little pieces are all one object, which is great. Now let's talk about converting this into a symbol. We're going to want to do that because, again, we're going to want copies of it or instances of it to be different. And also keep in mind, later on we're going to learn about animations. Some kinds of animations require your graphics to be a symbol. All right? So our paw print is now selected, and we'll go to the Insert menu and choose New Symbol. A common shortcut for that is Command F8 or Control F8. And this will give you the dialog box, and you can actually choose graphic from here. You could also convert this to a movie clip symbol or a button symbol. We actually want to choose graphic, but I'm going to hit cancel here and show you a great shortcut that I like to use all the time. With the paw print selected, if you take this guy and drag it and drop it over into the library, that's another quick way to create a symbol. So we'll just name this guy paw print and click Enter. All right, there we go. Now we can use instances of the paw print. Let's just take our original paw print and move it up to the top a little bit. And now let's create an instance of the paw print. We'll go here to the library and drag an instance out. Now every time we drag a copy, keep in mind that these copies are instances that are directly related to paw print. If we went in and edited the original paw print, the instances would also change. But the cool thing is that we can actually make some modifications to the instances without ever modifying the original. Let's check it out. With one of your paw prints selected, go over to the Properties panel, and then let's look at some of the things that we can do. We'll actually start right here under Color Effects, and let's maybe change the tint, which will actually change the color of your object. And maybe let's just move this slider down toward the right and see if we can't put a red tint on that paw print. Let's select another instance of a paw print. This time, let's go to Alpha and perhaps bump the transparency down a little bit on this guy. While we're here, let's go grab the free transform tool and make this guy a little bit bigger. We'll hold down the Shift key and pull and make this instance a little bigger. The keyboard shortcut V will take you back to the selection tool, and then you can deselect. So now we have the file stored once as the original. If we go back to the library, we'll see the paw print here, and these guys are actually instances. The original file size should stay the same because it's only stored one time. What happens if we need to change the symbol? Well, let's do that. Let's go over in the library and double-click paw print, and now we're going to go into a different screen. Notice here at the top, we aren't in scene 1, which is where everything was, but now Flash is expecting us to actually make some modifications to our original symbol. We can do that. Let's go to Modify and Ungroup, and let's actually change the fill color of our object. So our object is still selected, and I'm going to go right here to the Swatches panel and maybe choose a different color for the fill. And when I'm happy with what I have, if I simply click back over to scene 1, we are going to see that since we made a change to our original symbol, all of the instances also took those changes, but they also kept their specific changes that we made to each instance. Okay? And then we can deselect. One other thing that I want to show you in the timeline, and that is these two guys right here, the visibility and the lock icon. You can actually turn the visibility off next to any of your layers at any time to temporarily disable the item from your stage, and you can turn those back on. Another thing that's helpful is to lock an item. Sometimes you'll have an object exactly where you need it to be, and if you don't want to inadvertently move it, you can simply click the lock icon, and no matter what you do in the stage, you won't be able to move that item out of the way. Okay? Well, that wraps it up for this lesson. We have learned how to work with the library. We've learned a little bit about the timeline. We've also learned to create a symbol and work with instances of our symbol.